the General Assembly before Thanksgiving. Football color GA. If you didn't, I see Amy wore her black and gold, so I can support that. Secretary Miller, can you please take attendance? Yes, she did.
Okay. Representative Begat.
Present and voting with James.
Representative Brown.
Present voting.
Representative Hahn, who isn't a Pittsburgh fan.
I'm not.
Representative Wang.
Present and voting.
Representative Villano. Representative In. Representative Tabachnik. Representative Owaputi. Representative Rodensik. Representative Smith is excused. Representative Dorbeck. Representative Lee. Representative Falkenberg. Representative Law. Representative Hoffman.
President voting.
Representative Lupton.
Present voting.
Use your microphones.
Representative Cummins.
Use your microphones, please.
Cummins.
I'm sorry.
Representative Zoltan.
President voting.
Representative Renard.
Present voting.
Representative Schillo.
President voting. Go Steelers.
Representative Beckett.
Proxy.
Representative Fernandez. Representative McCachran. Representative Irizarry.
President voting.
Representative Iannitti. Representative Lendell.
President voting.
Representative Hong.
Just walked in.
Okay. Representative Park. Representative Yuan Lee. Representative McKee. Representative Schloff is absent. Representative Gallo.
Present voting.
Representative Sabe. Representative DeBas. Representative Fitch. Representative Singh.
Present and voting.
Representative Cruz.
Present and voting.
Representative Grialis. Representative Leo Lee. Leo is here. Any at-larges who wish to identify? Hi, Colin. Hi, Skylar.
Present.
Speaker Pulaski.
Present.
Observer Correspondent Sage Staff. Treasurer Moser.
Present.
Parliamentarian Brubaker.
Present. Go Wolverines.
Vice President Maloney. Vice President Bell.
Present voting.
Vice President Hamilton.
Present voting.
Vice President Downey.
Present voting. Getting ready to beat
Vice
the Wolverines.
President Agarwal.
Present and voting.
President Wynn.
Present voting.
If we have any
Excellent.
guests with us tonight, could you please stand and introduce yourself? We'll start from left to right. So everyone stand up so I know who you are. Lots of you. Excellent.
Hi, I'm John Backman. I'm Chair of Academic Care Board. I'm here to recommend our new members tonight. Albert Shue, I'm here to get elected to the mayor representative position.
Okay.
I'm in saying I'm here to attempt to do that.
I'm Tom Dooner. Same goes for me.
James Sale, also a nominee for.
I'm William Prakesh. I'm running for Case School of Engineering representative.
Excellent turnout. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll now move into board reports. President Wynn.
Okay, everybody, this is the last GA before our wrap-up GA. So a reminder, the last GA is going to be a little bit different from this one. It's going to be more of a, like I said, a wrap-up. So I want every committee VP, ad hoc chairs, and speaker from your caucuses to kind of get your plans now rolling for what you're going to say for the last GA. But I want you just to basically sum up what your accomplishments are for this year and what your goals are for next year, and that is for the November 30th meeting. I don't have much to say in my board report. Other than that, I am open up, hold on, one last thing. The charrettes, I guess, presentation during Twing Study Over. We will be having a phone voting system going on for that. What's going to happen for this is that they will be presenting the individual, I think 6 or 7 different layouts that were kind of brought up by students, faculty, and staff during an architectural, I guess, meet and, I don't know, playing with different pieces and whatnot. So you will see those different concepts. You get to vote on with texting which one you like the best, but also there will be cards there in which it will ask you like 5 short questions. I need representatives to kind of man that station during Twing Study Over. There will be laptops there so that they can type in their answers there, as well as just put cards in which they can write. So I will have a sign up for next GA. Please make sure to sign up when I do. Other than that, I am open to points.
Points for President Nguyen. Seeing none, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Vice President Agarwal.
I also have no report for this week. Just look forward to the commuter space resolution for next GA. Other than that, I'm open to points.
Okay. Vice President Downey.
No report for this week. Open to points.
Okay. Seeing none. Treasurer Moser, tip of the week. I have an anecdote about this one.
The tip of the week is your aliases that you can make with your email addresses. And just remember to be appropriate with them. While it might be really hilarious to you to have poopy@case.edu, one of my friends actually does have that, as your alias, it's not going to be funny to a professor who's writing a letter of recommendation to you. And I know that another one of my friends has an alias that is too inappropriate to say for this setting. So really think about it, like, don't do stupid stuff with it.
Your professors will email you at those aliases too, just to embarrass you. Not from personal experience, but Big F and Mike got an email from his professor. So, any points for Treasurer Moser? Representative Sabe.
How do you make an alias?
I'd like to redirect that to Kelly.
If you go to its-services.case.edu, there's a link for alias creation there.
Okay. Any other points for Treasurer Moser? Okay, Vice President Hamilton.
Just one more thing to say besides the teaching assistant evaluation legislation coming up later tonight. The Faculty Senate is sort of having a battle over who will control the Common Core curriculum debate between the FISCU Curriculum Committee and the Common Core Curriculum Committee. So I will keep you up to date as to who wins. I'm open to points.
Or bets. Okay, seeing none. Vice President Bell.
That thing was too far away, so I might as well walk up here. No real report other than thanks to everybody, especially the freshman caucus, for being really, really awesome at Pizza Olympics. So snaps to them because they helped a lot. I think we went through like 325 boxes of pizza. Next event coming up is the Twing Study Over, which will be December 5th from 8 till 12. We'll be doing rip your floats and either keychains or sleeping masks. Ellen's still looking into that. Expect a sign-up sheet next GA. It's an easy event to work. You just got to stand there, really. People will serve themselves. Other than that, I'm open to points.
Representative Hoffman.
Can we do orange soda floats as well?
Could we do cherry floats too?
I will keep that in mind. I do not like orange soda.
Oh, cherry floats are the best. President Nguyen.
Is the speaker aware that he did excellent job coordinating Pizza Olympics with Keith Lupton, and they should be very, very proud.
Is the questioner aware Liz helped a lot? And everybody really, so that's all.
Any other points for Vice President Bell? Okay. Vice President Maloney. I would really like to advocate for cherry soda floats. The best.
First of all, I'd like to extend my advocacy for cream soda floats. They're way delicious, and I love cream soda. So yeah, like I said in my board report, hopefully I will, myself and other IT committee members will be able to plan, get together with ITS-CSS to plan out the IT informational events before the end of the semester, so we can hopefully have those going early in the next semester. And also, we're looking into possibly getting e-suds for Greek housing, so gonna try to work on that, following some leads on how to get that implemented. And finally, a super exciting last-minute announcement. Thanks to the efforts of at-large Representative Singley, the resolution for self-registration of video game consoles and similar machines has been acted upon, and ITS is putting in a work order to get that implemented. So start planning out your host names.
So if you get an Xbox for Christmas.
Right, so start planning out your host names for your Xbox right now. Open points.
Points for Vice President Maloney. Okay.
Oh, and my tech tip of the week. Regrettably and unfortunately, greenie.case.edu no longer actually leads to the shuttle tracking system. You have to go to shuttle.case.edu. This is a campus tragedy, and I'm sad. Okay.
Representative Hoffman.
Who took greenie.case.edu?
No one did. It just doesn't go anywhere now.
Can we make you go to what is shuttle.case.edu?
Somebody could register that host name and set up a redirect to shuttle.case.edu if they were so inclined.
Any other points for Vice President Maloney? Okay, seeing none. We have a report from the Student Sustainability Council this week. I think, yes.
Well, I was prepared for the wrap-up meeting, but in the last couple of weeks, we've just been working on our pamphlet that we're designing. It's definitely, I don't think it's going to be done before the end of the semester. We're also going to try to collaborate with CIA now to get a more creative input. And I think we finalized our t-shirt design quote thing. So, and then they also wanted me to ask if USG could possibly subsidize our cost for our t-shirts, but I don't know how that works or what we need to do. Okay, so questions?
Any points for our liaison? President Nguyen.
I think that at the last meeting, you mentioned something about creating a USG SSC logo.
A logo,
Yes.
right.
How's that going?
I think what we're gonna do is that on the back, I think somewhere on the T-shirt, I'm pretty sure on the back that there's just going to be the USG logo, because I don't think that we have just a logo that we're putting on for SSC. I mean, it says there's a quote on the back, and I don't remember what the front is. Oh yeah, it is. It's like a planet, and it says "Protect the House," and it's like a planet Earth. It's really cute. And then on the back, I think somewhere is just going to be the USG logo. So.
Representative Lupton.
Yeah, two questions. I can't remember, I know you came in, what was it, 2 weeks ago and talked to us, but with the climate action plan, is everybody in your committee, the SSC, involved with the climate action plan? What kind of impact are you having with the university with the climate action plan? Can you touch on that just briefly?
I don't know too much because I'm not personally involved in the climate action plan, but I know that people that are on SSC are kind of leading different aspects of the plan. So if you want more detail, I can bring that to the next GA. But I don't really know.
Yes.
Also, do you have any updates on Recyclemania? I know that that's really big in the spring, and I think does it even start in January or February?
We're going to start it as soon as next semester begins, along with our other events that I'm going to speak at the wrap-up meeting. So, but yeah, we're going to be doing Recyclemania next semester.
Okay.
Okay. Any other points for our SSC liaison? Okay. Thank you. Are there any caucus reports tonight? By Representative Bagat.
I like walking to the podium. The Art and Science Caucus will be having an event next Thursday, most likely in the Sages Cafe. It'll be another coffee and comments similar to what we had last semester. So people will come in, they'll get coffee and probably munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts, and they'll give us feedback about the College of Arts and Sciences. We're looking into getting the College of Arts and Sciences to subsidize the coffee for us because they own the Sages Cafe, so they can give us free Pete's coffee. Hopefully, we're working on that right now. Actually, Amy's working on that. Also, I haven't talked to the rest of the representatives about this, but I'm pretty sure the College of Arts and Sciences caucus is fully supporting wild cherry Pepsi floats. Just throw it out there. It's a wild card, but I feel like it can have an amazing impact on the student body.
Any points for Representative Begat?
Thank you.
Any other caucus reports tonight? Okay, seeing none, just know we'll expect a caucus report from all of you next week. I'll be in touch with some suggestions for those. With that, we'll move into old business. We still have nominations open for our first-year representative. Are there any other nominations for the Cutler House representative tonight? Okay, again, seeing none, make some new friends, and we'll try again next week. At this time, we can entertain a motion to remove bills from the table. Vice President Maloney.
I move to remove Bill B 20-05 from the table.
Is there a second? Okay, Speaker in the pro.
There's a mess up, I think, in the agenda.
We passed 04 last week.
Okay. Well, there's two 05s on the agenda right now.
That's resolution.
Oh, sorry. Okay, cool. All right. So this is the last time everyone should be seeing this, but this is just for mass funding organization. About 141 organizations that we recognized, and most of them requested funding. Not all, but most. And that should be in the appendices that you got, and hopefully you got my email today. Had a little chance to look at that maybe.
You can now take out your computers if you have them and would like to review this document.
But nothing else to add. Open points.
Points for Vice President Downey. Okay, seeing none, is there a speaker in the con?
Go Buckeyes.
What?
He said go Buckeyes.
Okay, you mumbled. Seeing no speaker in the con, we'll move into a 5-minute discussion on Bill B 20-05. And Representative Lupton.
Yeah, so I had a chance to look at the bill. It took me a while. But the one thing that I noticed was the Engineers Council, I believe. We didn't fund them. They asked for like $10,000 or something ridiculous, and we ended up funding them only like $700. And I was just interested to see kind of the reasons why, just because the Engineers Council puts on a really good E-Week event. And I know the Engineers Banquet, they asked for maybe $4,000 or $5,000, and we chose not to give them anything. So I guess my question is, with that E-Week banquet, can you just touch on why we're not giving them money right now?
That's a good question. So there's a couple actually reasons for that. One of the first is that they get funding from many different sources. Principally, I believe it's from the Case Alumni Association. Obviously, we can't support something this big, but also the event is off campus, and it is, I believe, invite only to engineers, and it's also alcohol is served there. So there's kind of a combination of different things. But also looking at the rest of their week, there were other events that we felt were more in line with what we should fund, what would help students, not just from one discipline. And so we tried to fund those accordingly. That's why the banquet was not funded like maybe some people thought it should be. Does that answer your question, Keith?
As a point of information, it is open to everyone, so you should go because it's fun, even if you're not an engineer. Any other points for discussion on the bill? Oh. Okay, Colin, do you have any suggested points of discussion?
Okay, another one
Things that seem fishy.
that was for ISA, I just wanted to point out, we did not fund their formal at all. And that's not, we gave them money for other events, but you can't really see it in this list. It's in the actual full appendix, whatever it is, I think it's B. And the reason for that is because there's a bar at the event, and we talked it over with the finance committee, and we came to the conclusion that if they were able to remove alcohol from the event, we would be very willing to meet with them and look at how we can fund the event. But we felt that because of its prior history and alcohol present at the event, that it wasn't in the best interest.
Representative Thompson.
I remember this was an issue last year.
Also, were they funded at all last year for this, or is this new?
No, this is the same thing that happened last year.
Okay.
And now, to their credit, they have given us a very extensive plan to reduce risk, but we talked it over in the committee and came to a decision as a whole that it would be much better if they could remove the alcohol portion of it, and then we would look at funding it.
Okay.
Representative Hoffman.
Just to expand on that, last year one of the reasons why we didn't fund it is because it was still very much a senior send-off and kind of like a party for their members. And even though the campus was like invited, it was still very much like a let's celebrate the end of the year. And then now they've moved it to more of a cultural, learn like, music from all the different like cultures of India kind of thing. But there's still alcohol there. And we're just kind of like, why? And they were like, well, we still want it there. And so we thought it still kind of sounded just like a party. And so if they want a party, they can fund a party, was kind of our reasoning.
Other points for discussion? Oh, Representative Brown.
I was just curious, why do we fund professional and service fraternities?
So part of our goal as USG is to serve students, undergraduate students, and part of that is helping them achieve their professional goals. And so we do that so long as it helps them to network and further their professional goals and careers as undergraduates, not graduate students. And we do look at that and pursue those pretty rigorously.
Okay, other discussion points? Treasurer Moser, do you have anything that's your favorite thing to point out?
I believe it was Men's Glee Club that requested a Shetland pony. What was our reasoning behind not funding this? I believe they had a very nice price for it. They got a really good deal on it.
So the reason we did not fund the $2,500 for the Shetland pony was that we didn't see it was really in line with their group purpose, or that it would be a good use of the student activities fee.
We would share the fund.
Right.
Okay. Other points for discussion? Okay. Keeping in mind that by passing this, we are doling out over $300,000. If there are,
That's requested.
okay, but we're giving a lot of money. $120,000. So it's a considerable amount of the students' money. So if you have no other questions at this time, we can entertain a motion to call to previous question. Vice President Downey.
I have two small points, two small edits. In the third whereas clause, it should be 141 student organizations submitted over $340,000 in requests for funding. The numbers at the very bottom in the be it resolved first clause are correct, and that's just to reflect that, and that's my mistake when I submitted the bill to Kevin.
Representative Brown.
A quick question, why did we fund Case Ski and Snowboard Club $10,000 over what they requested?
Fund them, or that's what they requested?
Excellent things to catch.
The group total is at XLS6.
Where is it? Are you looking at the actual appendix?
Yeah, it's the document that was in.
Just search
Control F. It's near the bottom.
I am Excel literate, I promise.
2,500, what did I have in backwards is the first column requested.
Yeah, it's at the top. I was like, what?
Okay, sorry.
So we did not give them $10,000 more than they requested. Colleen.
So what'll happen, those will roll over to next year for use for the student organizations, and either probably in rolling funding is where they will be put. But also part of that, we're looking at, for like one in specific is ISA. If we can negotiate with them to change that, that would be part of rolling funding. And they would have to apply again and go through the formal process. But that would be rolled over 4 student groups. It's not going to be put in, executive funds. It's not going to be put in our operating expenses. It will go directly back to the student groups.
Representative McKee.
So looking at some of the groups, we found a lot of different groups for food at different events, which is fine. One of the groups in particular, the American Society of Civil Engineers, we turned down a lot of their requests for such, and also noticeably, we turned down the requests for things like safety goggles or hard hats, which would be reusable from year to year, semester to semester. Could you elaborate as to why we would have done that, or what the logic behind the decision was there?
Representative Williams.
To answer the food question, generally what the Finance Committee's policy is that we will fund food for a first meeting to kind of get interest in the group because, hey, everybody likes pizza and food. But past that, for just general meetings that tend to be a little bit more closed and not necessarily advertised to all students, we don't really necessarily fund those just because we don't feel like that's the best use funding. Now, if a group says, hey, it's all open, this is completely open. For example, I think the Physics and Astronomy Club has completely open meetings for each time, so we would fund meetings after the first one. But in the case of the American Civil Engineers Society, we felt they were a little bit more closed. So, to answer that part.
Representative Thompson.
Does the Finance Committee give higher priority to capital purchases rather than consumables?
Vice President Downey.
No, we look at what the group wants and what they request. Many times groups will actually submit an extra paragraph or two explaining if they need something. And we do take that into consideration, but we don't give extra credence to a capital versus consumable.
Treasurer Moser.
To follow up on like the safety gear, like the goggles and the helmets, I believe our reasoning behind this, I think the civil engineering lab actually has a huge amount of goggles in their lab already. And also, if they're just buying like the little plastic ones, they're really fairly inexpensive. And most students already have to buy them for their classes anyway. And they could probably use to buy their own pair, because they'll probably want to keep their goggles and I would assume keep their helmets. And they should, if they're civil engineers, they'll probably reuse them, keep them, take them with them, not stay with the group.
Vice President Downey.
So to follow on that, when we do allocations and everything, we actually do quite a bit of research into what's going on. We don't just allocate money blindly. And part of that is asking a lot of questions. That's why the Finance Committee is comprised of many different members. And so we had, I think at the time, we talked to someone in the Civil Engineering Department. They told us about the equipment there. Now, if you compare that to the SAE group, who does racing, they're comprised of engineers. We did give them safety equipment. So that's kind of the difference there, because that should be departmental funding, not student activities fee paying for that. So, yeah.
Other Representative Upton.
Move to previous question.
Call the previous question.
Call.
Okay, is there any dissent? Okay, seeing none, we'll now vote on Bill B 20-05 as corrected for accurate numbers. So all in favor, please signify by raising your hand very high. $31?
31.
We got the right number. Oh, wonderful. All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, excellent. B, Bill 20-05 passes. If Representative Bagat.
Point of information, how many votes do we need for a resolution to pass, or a bill to pass today?
A bill to pass is 2/3
So-
of present voting members.
Okay, present voting members.
As long as we have quorum, which is 2/3 of our elected representatives, which we do have more than that here tonight. So at this time, we can entertain another motion for our Bill 20-06 to take up from the table. Representative Brown?
Move to take off Bill B-2006 from the table.
Okay, is there a second? Hey, Speaker in the Pro, Vice President Downey.
So this is the second set of the mass funding bills. And what this does, this actually just recognizes groups that went through recognition through Collegiate Link for mass funding and formal recognition by USG as a group. And what this does is entitles them to reserve rooms and have all the privileges that would have. Also printing in the USG office and that kind of thing. So this is a pretty good thing for a lot of groups. But you have seen this bill before. It's been updated with a couple new groups that we gave recognition to, but other than that, it is the same bill.
Any points for Vice President Downey? Representative Lupton.
Yeah, question for you. Out of those 141 student groups, there's a lot of, I mean, you see a lot of different medical groups. I know that's always been an issue in the past. When you're, I guess when you're recognizing these groups, they probably have different mission statements, and being on finance, I know that, but were any of their events similar? I mean, are all these groups really, did you look at that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And they all actually have mission statements that everyone can actually check on collegiatelink.case.edu. You can just go to their groups and check that out for yourself. But yeah, so for instance, some of them do volunteering work, and they try to get, because as a pre-med, you want to have volunteering experience, so some of them do that. Some of them try to network, like I know Daniel Hell Williams tries to network and actually talk to some med schools. And so, yeah, they do slightly different things. I believe it was AMSA who kind of tried to bring a lot of those together, and I think, if I remember correctly, a couple of years ago, they actually merged a couple groups into one because they were all doing the same thing. Yeah, good question.
Other points for Vice President Downey? Secretary Moeller.
Last year when I was on the Finance Committee, one thing I noticed in particular about two groups that are incredibly similar, and I don't know why they both need to exist. I don't know if you know, but InterVarsity Christian Fellowship and Koinonia InterVarsity. They even have InterVarsity, and they work together on almost everything.
So they are similar, but they go to different groups. They're actually both part of the InterVarsity, I guess, larger organization, but Koinonia caters to more of an Asian audience. It's in their mission statement that they do that. And InterVarsity is, it does sort of the same thing, but they have different ways that they go about their events. The events are not the same, and while they may have kind of the same end goal, they do it in different ways. So the programming is actually different from each other if you look at the individual quests and that kind of thing.
Any other points for Vice President Downey, or I believe we'll move into discussion at this time. Right. So points for discussion on Bill B 20-06. Representative Hoffman.
I'd like to make a point that if representatives are going to vote against a bill, that they bring it up in discussion, because Finance Committee works very hard on these bills and sorting out through all this information. So if you're going to vote against or abstain, please give a reason why, and please bring it up in discussion.
Points for discussion. Vice President Downey.
So one of the groups, a new group that's something always need to bring up, is Students for Sensible Drug Policy. And I'm not picking on them on purpose. It's just because they're a new group and maybe not everyone's familiar with them. And what they're doing is they're trying to advocate for more well-informed people that are more informed about drug laws, why they are what they are, and about the United States actions abroad. They are just merely there to give information. And we funded those events, according to that purpose. But that's just one of the new groups that they have. You'll also see that there are quite a few dance groups, and we have tried to look at, make sure there's no overlap, but try to look at those. Some are in special interest, but most of them are in performance or competitive categories. So just as an FYI to everyone.
Other notable points on this bill? If not, we can entertain a call to previous. Representative Bagat?
Call the previous question.
Okay, is there any dissent? Okay, we'll now vote on Bill B 20-06. All in favor, please raise your hand. Doug? Okay, yeah, I can't count. All opposed? And abstentions? Okay. Bill P 20-06 passes. Is there any other old business for tonight that we might have forgotten about? Seeing none, we'll move into new business. Our first order of business tonight will be the election of the K School of Engineering representative. And so if there are other nominations at this time, those can be entertained. If not, we can move to close nominations and move into a vote. So are there any other nominations at this time? Representative Lupton.
Nominate Skylar Thompson.
Okay. Any other nominations? So we can entertain a motion to close nominations. Representative Lupton.
Move to close nominations.
Okay. So at this time, if Tom Dooner could take the podium, while you're all in the room, just know that you'll have 30 seconds to speak and then a minute and a half to answer questions from the assembly. So if everyone else could leave the room, that's, oh, sorry, 1 minute. This changes every time. Okay, 30 seconds to speak, 1 minute for questions. Okay, you can go ahead and start.
Very good. Hi, everybody. So I'm Tom Dooner. I'm a sophomore computer science major. I didn't really know what USG did. I didn't know what it did for me before this year. So I've been, through some of my friends, I've learned what USG does, and I wanted to become involved this year. So I've been working with Kelly in the IT subcommittee.
5 seconds.
Say what?
5 seconds.
Oh, shit. Please vote for me.
Okay, and questions? Colleen.
So, since you've had a chance to look from a standing committee's point of view, what are some of the biggest challenges USG faces this year?
Let's see. So the challenge that I've come across with the IT committee specifically, I mean, I haven't been involved extensively outside of that, but a lot of the challenge is actually getting the process from the resolution being passed to the actual completion, and that's something that I'm trying to get involved with, but it's been a challenge.
Representative Lupton.
Yeah, you make a comment in your letter of intent. I couldn't name a single thing that USG did for me before this year. Can you give me some way that you see us reaching out to students a little bit more? So I guess more specifically with the engineering school.
Reaching out, well, okay, excluding groups, groups, everybody knows USG funds groups and things. But I didn't know that, I didn't pay attention to the fact that USG planned events, that there was an engineering caucus for, planning engineering events and getting feedback in that kind of way.
5 seconds.
And just in general, the resolutions that are that I've seen going on from the likes of the IT committee has been pretty cool.
Thank you, Tom. If you could step outside, we'll send Albert in. Albert. Okay, Albert, you'll have 30 seconds to speak at the podium and then a minute for questions. And I'll give you a 5-second warning so that we're all keeping to time. Okay, so you can go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Albert Shu. For the last 3 semesters, I was the VP of PR for Delta Upsilon Fraternity. And during those 3 semesters, I ran a bunch of events, PR-wise. I did all the postering, the walling, the mini flyers, photos like ACU, Twiggle, etc. And for the next semester, I'm not doing anything for DU exec-wise. So I have a bunch of free time, and I decided to join this because I wanted to get involved in campus a little bit more. I've never actually held a leadership position out of DU, and I thought this would be a
5
good
seconds.
time. What?
5 seconds. Sorry.
I guess that's 5 seconds.
Okay, questions? Vice President Agarwal.
Is there any one particular thing that you would like to change within the engineering school?
First thing I thought of when I was applying for this was recently the chemical engineer, I'm a chemical engineer, recently the chemical engineering department decided to merge, in quotes, with the macromolecular department. And I don't know a single person in the macromolecular department. I don't know a single professor. And I thought this was a really strange thing that they would merge it. And turns out the plan fell through, and now they're talking about it. And I thought this was really strange that the students don't know anything about this. I learned this from a double E professor 3 weeks after it happened. And I would like to fix that. One thing I thought about was there's a little bit of a division between the different departments, especially between macro and chemical, even though we're right next door, is to get to know each other.
Okay, and one more 5-second question.
Jesus Christ.
What committee would you like to join
Well,
if you were elected?
I feel like I would be the most comfortable in the PR committee because I did PR for 3 semesters. However, I don't have any particular preference.
Okay, thank you very much, Albert. You can step outside and we'll send in William. Just for GA's reference, a really great 5-second question is, what committee do you think you might join? Okay. You'll have 30 seconds to speak and a minute for questions, and I'm going to give you a 5-second warning, so don't be alarmed.
Okay.
So you can go ahead.
Okay, my name is William Kakish. I'm a senior biomedical engineer. I'm currently involved in groups around campus such as the Biomedical Engineering Society, Alpha Eta Mu Beta, which is a BME honor society, as well as Middle Eastern Culture Association, where I serve as vice president and in the past recruitment chair. I also work at the Recycling Center, as well as I'm a TA for Engineering 210. And I believe that with my diverse background and experiences here at CASE, that I could be a valuable asset to such committees as public relations or even
5 seconds.
or even student life.
Okay, questions. Representative Lepton.
Yeah, so you say you do a lot on campus. So, I mean, obviously you're signing up for USG, you realize it's a time commitment. What are some of the qualities, through all these leadership positions, can you speak in the next 40 seconds, some of the qualities, what you're going to bring to USG through all these experiences?
Well, the time commitment on that really quick, I did play football, and that's the reason that I'm waiting so long to get into USG. I've always wanted to get into it, but I've always had a huge time commitment with football, but now that football is over for me, I have more time to commit to another activity, as well as I'm a very ambitious person. I'm outgoing. I like to make events happen. I mean, Recycle Mania is something that you had discussed earlier, and that's something that I look forward to at the Recycling Center, but there's a lot of ways to improve that, and that doesn't deal with it deals with the workers, not necessarily the upper class, the people that are organizing Recycle Mania. So in general, ambition.
President Wynn.
Can you give me an incident in which you worked with a group or motivated a group to complete a goal?
In the next 10 seconds.
For Middle Eastern Culture Association, getting the group together to actually get to motivate them to put together the spring show, for example, we had to get people to come in and practice the skits, the dances, the whole shebang, and it's just you have to constantly get on people and get them excited about it, as well as keep reminding them that this is like, you're having fun, you're having a good time, and it's something you want to do.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.
You can step outside and we'll send in James. Representative Williams.
Could I make a suggestion that you tap on the table when they have 5 seconds left?
So I don't scare anyone?
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Allie,
Oh, okay. Yeah? Okay, I'm just going to keep it the same. James, you're going to have 30 seconds to speak. I'll give you a 5-second warning. Don't be alarmed. And you'll have a minute for questions following that. So you can go ahead and start.
Thanks, Allie. Like she said, my name is James Hale. I'm a civil engineering major sophomore. Very excited to be here, very thankful for the nomination. Like I said in my letter, I'm all about student input in university decisions. I recently talked to Dean Amon. She was actually disappointed that more students don't get involved, and it seemed to be a general attitude of all the faculty. And so that's one thing that I think USG would be a great opportunity for me to improve.
Okay, questions for James. Representative Shillo.
You said that you would like to improve involvement on campus. Do you have any ideas of how you go about that? Can you tailor that to engineering school?
Yeah, actually, I mean, obviously the big thing in the engineering school right now is the core curriculum debate. They're the ones who brought that up. And Dean Amon said there's actually, they usually invite students onto those committees, but she said that most students have been declining recently. So just sort of an investigation into what's going on there would be something I'd be interested in doing.
Other questions? Representative Williams.
In your letter intent, you were talking about that you want to help improve mass funding. Could you elaborate how you'd like to see that or what improvements you'd like to see?
Nothing personal, Colin. But one thing, I am the president of the Student Golfers Association. We're a new organization as of last semester, and so this was our first time going through mass funding. And I was a little bit disappointed by just the amount of information available to new orgs. There's really nothing on the website about how to fill out those forms in detail.
Thank you, James. You can step outside.
Thank you.
And we'll send in Andrew. Okay, and you'll have 30 seconds to speak. I'll give you a 5-second warning, so don't be alarmed. And then a minute for questions. So you can go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay, my name's Andy Singley. I'm a sophomore computer engineering major, just recently declared. I've had a lot of involvement with, or as much involvement with the IT committee as I could so far. Been trying to jump in on a lot of resolutions. I've also had a lot of work experience working for ITS since I started here freshman year. Pretty much just I want to get more involved with USG. I actually enjoy the meetings. I don't know if that's weird.
5 seconds.
But I would like to possibly get on another committee and definitely get more involved.
Questions for Andy? Vice President Hamilton.
What other committee would you be interested in serving?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I was thinking about finance just because that interests me.
Representative Bagat.
Can you speak to any other any issues going on in the engineering school that you think need to be addressed outside of IT-related issues?
Yeah, overall, there's like the whole transition. You've been hearing a lot about SAGEs going away, which for engineers is huge because we're not too huge on writing all the time. And that's something I want to be involved in as a student because I think we need to kind of say what we want.
Okay, and one more short one. If anyone has a President Wynn. Question? I just figured you could do it a really quick question that's pointed. Yeah.
That was a very long one. Could you give me an instance in which you motivated a group to attain a goal?
In 15 seconds.
Okay, I'm also the webmaster on the archery club, and I'm motivating them so we can upgrade our server. That's the shortest one I can give.
Thank you very much, and you can go ahead and step outside. And then if we could go Media Vision silent. Excellent. For our spring election commissioner, Representative Lupton is the only candidate who has accepted his nomination. If there are any other nominations at this time, we can take those now. Or we can close nominations. Representative McKee. Okay. Representative Lupton, you can take the podium. You'll have 30 seconds to speak and a minute for questions. Representative Schillo.
Personal preference.
Granted.
Thank you.
Any more ballots?
Can I go?
Yep, you
Tell me
can
where
go.
my 30 starts.
Whenever you start speaking, that's when I'll start it.
Okay.
If everyone could focus on the front.
Okay, everything's in my letter of intent. I'm open to questions.
Okay. Questions for Representative Lupton. Representative Williams.
Representative Lupton, I know I brought this to you at the retreat, but the issue with electronic voting and that sometimes there are malfunctions with the system, and that if there are persistent malfunctions with the system, I know that you told me that, we'll just wait and we'll still do electronic, but do you have another backup plan that does not involve the electronic system?
Yeah, so we talked about this with Kelly at the beginning of, before the elections took place. And if something happens at the beginning, sometimes, not everything's right at the first run. We try to get everything right, but she handled everything within the first hour very officially, and we thought, everything went really well. If something breaks down and we can't fix it over the course of the first day, your last action would be hand ballots. Really, I don't like hand ballots because it doesn't get out to the whole campus as much. I'd rather actually get it fixed and just push back the elections an extra day. So, I already addressed your concerns this past year, but I think everything that Kelly did the first, hour, I thought was she handled professionally.
If anyone is holding a ballot at this point, speaking of ballots, please raise your hand. Okay. Representative Fernandez.
As being the first year commissioner, what would you change about what you did for this next one?
Yeah, clarity. I felt I actually, what I did is I printed off the bylaws and I highlighted everything that I thought was necessary because I wanted people to see the bylaws and see what was necessary. The thing that I didn't like about that is the bylaws are pretty long. So in every year before me, there's been an actual document that's listed, hey, these are the things you can do, these are the things you can't. It's been a little bit more cut and dry. I changed it this year, a little experiment, and it didn't work out as well. So for the spring, I'm going to go back to try to summarize it on a one page. And I think the big thing that I'm going to set out this year is clearly defining expectations. If you do something, holding you as a somebody running for the position in USG, you need to be held accountable. So I think just clearly defining our expectations for you running and what kind of penalties or what kind of how we're going to enforce any infractions. So clearly defining that.
Thank you, Representative Lupton. You can step outside, and we're going to discuss at this time. Into new business, we can entertain a motion for resolution R 20-05. Representative Bagat? Okay, we don't have to say the dot, but thank you. Is there a speaker in the pro? Vice President Hamilton. Oh, can you pause for a moment, Vice President Hamilton? So we can. Congratulations, Election Commissioner Lupton.
Thank you.
All right, I'm here speaking instead of Representative McCachran because she couldn't be here tonight. Basically, this bill, or excuse me, resolution is just meant to add some form of questions to the current course evaluations in order to expand the number of questions that evaluate teaching assistants. I'm open to points.
Points for Vice President Hamilton. Representative Hoffman.
I don't know if this is for discussion, but it talks about adding a place where you can leave comments. Because right now, if you can clarify, all there is like a checkbox that you can check about your TA. And you want, and the purpose of the resolution is to change that to a like fill in the blank, you can write a comment.
We could save that for discussion, if that's okay. Any other points specifically on the resolution? Okay. Thank you, Vice President Hamilton.
All right.
Is there a speaker in the con? Okay. Not that I expected it, but okay. So discussion, Representative Hoffman, we can start with your question.
Yeah, I just want, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the purpose of this bill. I talked to Representative McCachran, but it's like, I don't know if you guys fill out course evaluations, but right now it's just like you rank your TA from like 1 to 5 or something like that. But this is to add like a comment box so that you can say like, wow, this person was really awesome, they helped me out with my homework, or to be like, this person never showed up. And I think that would be an excellent improvement.
Representative Cummins?
Yeah, the general idea was just to provide the same type of feedback for TAs as the teachers currently have. And so, of course, like the actual implementation will be done by the appropriate faculty senate committee. We can definitely push that up the ladder for you.
Representative Sabe?
This is a great idea, and I had taken a college course over in high school, and they had a system where like what this is talking about, like a separate page for professors and TAs where like you can really like there's options like clarity, helpfulness, and stuff like that. So I know I just filled out evaluations, and I was upset that I couldn't really talk about TAs because some I felt quite passionate about.
Vice President Hamilton?
I guess two other things. One, although it does not say that the Graduate Student Senate is endorsing this, we do have their full support. It is because of the way they operate that they are not allowed to co-sponsor this bill. However, I have the assurance of both the president, the vice president, and the chair of professional development that they all support this, as well as the organization in general. The other thing being is if this bill passes, is just a first step in trying to improve how teaching assistants are trained by offering quantitative data that then prove to ESS and the faculty senate and the provost office that teaching assistants need better training.
Representative Thompson?
Was it discussed at all in committee if there should be a point to direct that these evaluations be used for hiring decisions semester to semester?
No, it wasn't. And I think the reason was because, you know, there's a very short time frame that basically a teaching assistant or someone with a master's degree is teaching. It would be like a year, 2 years at most. And so we didn't feel it was quite that constructive to having that. I think there's sort of a limited pool in terms of who to hire. So if you're basically cutting out like everyone that's qualified, then you're going to have issues.
Representative Hoffman?
The engineering caucus talked to made it sound like for a lot of programs, being a teaching assistant is required as part of your graduate study. Like you have to TA 2 or to 3 semesters or something like that. So if they got a really poor review and they weren't allowed to teach I don't think you can not allow them to be a TA anymore because they have to be.
President Nguyen.
Yeah, I was just going to touch up on that, but basically this, it's part of their curriculum sometimes in order for them to get their degree that they have to teach. So this basically allows them a feedback for their progress as a TA so that maybe they can be, help. We don't want the undergraduate population to be, have to suffer from, them not being trained well or not doing their TA position well just because they have to.
Representative Williams.
Could you please clarify the fourth whereas clause where it says there is no uniform evaluation for teaching assistants as individual courses evaluate teaching assistants differently? Does this refer to the staff evaluating them, or does this refer to like the actual student evaluation?
Vice President Hamilton.
So I was making a reference to the student evaluation. So currently there's only one question on the general course evaluation. However, within specific departments with specific courses, they have broader evaluations. An example of that would be the physics lab that hand out a paper version of that to actually get more feedback on the teaching assistant there. And the hope is to have something similar across the board.
As a point of clarification, I work for ESS. So all of your graduate student teaching assistants do take a class called University 400 A, B, or C, depending if they are domestic students, international students, or students with prior higher degrees. And so this could be incorporated into that as a feedback system specifically for those students. Colleen.
Well, and to further that clarification, some of this also aligns itself with the department. A department may require it, a department may not require it. So whether they take that course is not a finite, not like every TA must take it.
Yeah.
And so there's that inconsistency as well.
Representative Hoffman.
Also another point to that is some TAs are paid and some aren't. So that also kind of goes into the variations of TAs.
Representative Cummins. Okay. Is there any dissent? Okay, at this time we'll vote on resolution R 20-05. If you're in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Oh, that's okay. One of us has to be wrong every time. All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, resolution R 20-05 passes. We are back into new business, and at this time I'd like to invite the chair of the Academic Integrity Board to give us a brief introduction to their future members.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening. I'm John Backman, Chair of the Academic Integrity Board. I'm here to recommend the new members that we have elected to our board for approval by USG. We do this process basically as a tradition, but also as a sort of communication between the two organizations. Real quick, the three names, James Hale, Tyler Mann, and Kelly McCready. They all went through a process of submitting applications, getting letters of recommendation, after which we approved whether or not these applicants would move on to the interview phase. Naturally, these three moved on. They participate in group interviews as well as individual two-on-one interviews with two board members and themselves. We find these candidates highly qualified and willing to participate, and we look very much forward to having them join our board.
Okay, so at this time, if you have any questions about the candidates or selection process, we can direct those. Secretary Mueller, I don't know why I have problems with this.
Just for the record, I know James and Kelly personally, so I know they're both sophomores. James is a civil engineering major, and Kelly's a theater major, I think.
Correct.
What's Tyler?
Tyler, I believe, is a biochemistry major, and I believe he's in his second year.
Other questions about the candidates? Representative Lupton.
Question.
Yes.
Who appoints you to your position, or how are you elected to your position, or how do you become the chair of the academic integrity?
Sure. During the spring semester, we hold elections, at which point there's a process of submitting letters of intent, after which the board fields discussion. It's much like this process. Letters of intent, discussion, the board votes, majority of present quorum. For us, it's quorum is half plus one. Half of the total active group plus one member, and then it's majority within that quorum.
Other questions?
Is there a specific number of students who are appointed to the board each semester, or is it different?
It's different based on the number of applicants. The Academic Integrity Board actually has a cap of students. Our maximum limit is 30. However, during our recruitment phases, we always seek to hit that limit. Right now, we're still under, although this coming spring semester, we're looking to recruit a lot more new members and probably have to exercise that cap limit.
Okay. Other questions? So at this time, the traditional process has been a vote of acclamation from the General Assembly, but if there is any dissent, we will vote by show of hands. So is there a motion to vote? Vice President Downey? Is there any dissent? Okay, so all in favor of approval of the Academic Integrity Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business at this time? Okay, we will move into open forum. Tonight, we will allow 5 minutes for open forum, unless we can always entertain extensions. So, Representative Bagat.
Vice President Agarwal, I was wondering if you talked to case security at all since the recent incident on North Side between Hitchcock and Pierce?
I am in the process of, well, I sent an email to Chief Hardy. As you know from the past incidents on Bellflower, security was increased on North Side in general. My request to Chief Hardy was to maybe focus more on having officers patrol residential areas. And I'm also collaborating with RHA on this. RHA reached out to me, and we want to make this a collaborative effort to make sure security is tight, particularly around residential areas, whether it be, officers on the little scooters or driving around or on foot. I do believe what the security alert said was that this suspect was pursued on foot for some time, but then was lost. So it is indicative of the fact that there were officers around at the time. It's just a matter of them keeping their eyes more peeled and being alert. So I did ask Chief Hardy but this was this weekend, so I'm anticipating a response from him in the coming days.
Any other points for discussion? Oh, President Nguyen.
So I asked you guys to go and ask your constituents about the big question that I asked you 2 weeks ago. I will bring it up now. What is the major concern for students at this university as of this year? What defines our student population this year, and what is
their major concern that we can help, solve for them? And this is something that I will be presenting to the Board of Trustees of the university. So think big. If you have gotten some feedback, let me know.
Representative Lupton.
I think the main thing I hear over and over again is ensuring that the student center is going to be good. Ensuring that it's going to be the central of camp, the central house of campus. So I think there's just a lot of concern with, students that I've talked. I talked to Ali Pulaski a little bit about this, walking to Northside with her. But I think just ensuring that there's going to be enough, I don't know what I'm trying to say, warmth, just enough incentive for students to stay in the center. So just ensuring that it's going to be accepted well by the university.
Vice President Agarwal.
I would say SAGES, year in, year out, comes up for everyone. And I know administration from my, had just talking with administration, specifically a meeting about SAGES where they wanted our input. I think it was Board of Trustees members who were talking to us about it. But just to see some progress on something being decided for that, are changes going to be implemented, and if so, when? And I think also students are probably excited to see what kind of things could come from this core curriculum discussion, because that would definitely change how academics are for everyone on campus.
Representative Bagat?
The role of cyberbullying on campus, obviously it hasn't been as prevalent, but there have been a lot of those different juicy campus websites going on, and I've talked to different people, and then they've seen their names on there, and I just want to know if CASE is going to do anything about that. Obviously, they can't stop the internet, but we had the information session, I believe, one or 2 weeks ago about cyberbullying, but they want to see more things like that, just kind of raising awareness.
Vice President Downey?
So I know something that I've heard from quite a few students is support. And when I say that, I mean in many different ways. So if it's athletic groups that need support in coaching or in some other staff member to help them out, or if it's help in the engineering school, if they can have extra help in the labs where it's just someone, a staff person, not a full faculty member, but something help them with on projects. And several students have come in and said hey, I saw this at other universities, just in general, I just don't feel supported by staff in general, in myriad kind of situations. So as a general idea, I guess.
Vice President Agarwal?
This may be a little bit abstract, but I would say retention. In my past couple of years, I've had several friends who have left the university, who transferred, and their reasons are all across the board. However, while it's good to see that our numbers for applications and admissions are increasing, I wonder if there's any focus on trying to keep students here as well, and if has been any research done to see why students leave, what's caused. Is it financial? Is it the workload? What is it? Because those numbers are also reflected. People see that too, and that could affect our admissions. And I don't want my friends leaving the school either. So.
Oh, Representative Wang would like to speak to that point.
I'm just going to respond to your comment about retention. Last year during I spoke to Dean Wolkowitz. He actually made a presentation.
Can you use your microphone?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, Dean Wolkowitz actually made a presentation to the Faculty Senate about retention last year. Kind of the main reason is that the reason why students transfer, as far as academic reasons goes, because that's his jurisdiction, is that students will probably find a better program elsewhere, and also the major reason is cost. There are schools that might have a better program but their overall tuition is cheaper than ours. Also, with our academic curriculum is pretty rigorous, that sometimes students don't perform at the level that the university expects them to. So loss of scholarships or stuff like that is also a main factor in causing students to transfer elsewhere.
President, would you like to move to extend time?
Yes, 5 minutes, please.
Okay. Vice President Hamilton?
Sort of echoing off that, something I haven't heard people say here yet, but I know it's been discussed in Board of Trustees meetings before, is the amount of student debt upon leaving this university. I think the average amount right now is $37,000.
Representative Cruz?
Something that kind of surprised me that I've been hearing a lot of lately is that students feel like the professors aren't caring very much, that they're not enjoying teaching, they're not here to teach, they're not making an effort to help students learn. They're just here to get their money for their research, is what students are saying. And that kind of bothered me, because if this is a university, we're all here to learn and they're all here to teach. And if they're not wanting to teach, why are they here?
Representative Wang had a response to that point, I believe.
I'll do that after.
Oh, sounds good. Vice President Agarwal?
I was going to also just follow up quickly, it's possible, because we are a research university, and their tenure also depends on the fact that they're doing research, and I do agree that is a concern, that they should they be balancing their interests in teaching as well as their research interests, maybe that could be brought up.
Representative Hahn?
Going off of the cost issue, I've just been hearing a lot of students saying that, you know, I pay this amount of money to go to this school, but this isn't happening. So I think a discrepancy between the cost of the university and the expectations of the students that are not met.
Representative Lupton?
Yeah, I have something else I wanted to bring up. I just want to let you know. Yeah, go.
Thank you. That's just fine.
Yeah, can somebody touch on the reasons, I guess the reasons
Microphone.
Can somebody touch on the reasons why the Academic Integrity Board, why each semester or once a year, why we appoint or accept their approval, or, you know, why this is a tradition?
Colleen?
It's written in their bylaws. It was created through undergraduate studies, one of the deans, and it was approved by the USG, and so it remains part of their constitution. So it should be in ours as well. Somewhere in there, I believe.
Yeah, I just asked, just because it's almost, so I guess what they're asking is for our stamp of approval, and
Showing endorsement, you're the representative body of the students, so your endorsement means that you are elected.
gotcha.
Mr. Backman, would you like to touch exactly on what the responsibilities of the board are and why? Because we do approve it as representatives of all students. So maybe if we get a clear picture of what exactly the responsibilities are.
Thank you. With that, I mean, with our involvement on campus, our basic mission is to, you know, promote excellence in academic integrity and scholarship. And so our mission reaches out to the entire student body. And being USG, you guys are the student body. You want people who, you know, represent, sorry.
That's okay.
There's layers of representation is basically it. And we want people to represent the student body well. And ultimately, that is your guys' take. You guys represent the student body. So ultimately, that's why we speak to you guys. Also, aside from the programming aspect, we do academic integrity hearings. And those consist of if a student finds his or herself in an infraction of academic policy, you know, cases of cheating, plagiarism, misrepresentation, obstruction. We hear those cases, and we have a lot of bearing on student lives as well. So it's important that the students have a voice in who's on this board, considering we do affect the student body greatly.
So if you consider us kind of like a House of Representatives, this would be like the Supreme Court, you know, who hears the cases. So like a nice little analogy. Representative Lupton.
Does anything ever happen, so say USG gives the endorsement, we stamp it, you know, like we just did tonight. Say something happens that one of the candidates maybe don't do their job exactly how they should, or something integrity-wise doesn't happen in the Academic Integrity Board. How do you guys go about addressing those issues? Do those ever happen?
Yes, actually. We have, I mean, just in place, we have a membership review system for members who we don't feel are upholding our principles, who aren't serving the board well. I mean, just as a logistical measure, you know, we have active members and inactive members based on their ability to participate. But to speak more to your point about, you know, members who find themselves in those situations, we have regulations in place for that as well. And, you know, we do dismiss members based on that. You know, we have to keep our own code.
The only reason why I was asking is just because, you know, we're given our stamp of approval, and like we actually don't know the candidates. So it's kind of, I know it's just kind of logistically, it's both in the bylaws, we give the stamp. And I think it's a good idea, just because, you know, you could always say, you know, USG, the student body, gives approval. I just was curious. That's why I wanted to bring it up and open it.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Usually we would have a profile of each of the candidates in the agenda, but we didn't get the results until later, so we couldn't have put it into the agenda. So that's why, and we needed to do this before the next big meeting. So that's why you didn't have a full profile of the 3 candidates this agenda.
Gotcha.
We can still retroactively send that out if everyone is interested, maybe in the minutes. We can work on that. Okay, so we've again reached the time limit for open forum. Representative Wang? No. Okay, so now we're into announcements. So I'd first like to announce that our elected candidate tonight is James Hale. So he is not here right now. But I want to thank you all for showing up. 5 candidates for one position is a spectacular turnout, and in the future, please keep USG in mind, as I know that we have at least one member going abroad next semester from the engineering caucus, so we could have you back for another election. Parliamentarian Brubaker.
Yeah, and just to quickly give a very brief explanation of what the experiment was. The Irish have a system where if no candidate receives a majority in an election, then what you do is you take the bottom person's ballots and you go to their second choice and you redistribute those ballots. I was curious how that would work out in this case. That's why we did it. That's all.
Representative Bagat.
Sorry, a couple points. First one is about 5 minutes ago you sneezed, so bless you, Speaker Ali. Second is have a wonderful Thanksgiving break, everyone. Third one is I drove here from Northside, so if anyone wants to lift back to Northside, I have room for 4. Last point is Wild Cherry Pepsi floats for the win.
Okay, Representative Williams.
On that note, Twing study over next, not this Sunday, next Sunday night. It's going to be awesome. We have some pretty awesome food places lined up this year. We have the normal like Liquid Planet, Tommy's. We're getting Melt this year, so it's going to be pretty awesome. Anyway, so flyers are going to be going up next week. We'll be making class announcements. Due to some budgeting, we have decided not to paint the spirit wall, so please email your constituents, talk to your constituents, make sure that they're coming. I'll send something to President Wynn. We'll send out the official flyer so you make your Facebook profile picture. Tell people to sign up for the groups, whatever. It's going to be awesome. Tweeting Beyond the Possible 2010.
Okay, Colleen.
Oh, I don't have an official date. I believe we're starting signups next Monday.
Colleen.
It is Monday. Well, since I wasn't on the agenda.
Oh.
I told them to take you off.
I have no report. Thank you so much. 2 things. Currently, the Spring Fest Committee is being formed. If you're interested, I just sent an email. Anyway, if you're interested, email Melanie Scanlon at MMS74 if you want to be a part of the Spring Fest Committee. Also, what was the other thing?
Oh, I have another announcement. While you're home talking to your family, if you are not affiliated in Greek life, now's a great time to start talking and having those conversations with your family members about going through sorority or fraternity recruitment. And registration is live for sorority recruitment, so you can talk about it and get the ball rolling on that. Vice President Hamilton. Oh, but Representative Cruz, I think, has an announcement. Oh, same thing? Okay.
Wait, Katie has something.
I just wanted to say, while you're home for Thanksgiving, it's a great time to start asking people for donations for Relay for Life.
And they get doubled before the end of the year. Representative Bagat.
Donate any canned goods you have left over from Thanksgiving. There's still hungry people out there.
Okay, Representative Wang. We are adjourned.
Kevin, where's my PowerPoint?
Everyone's like, I just something up.
Thank you. I missed college.
I think that